This ain't no game, Flash. Real guns, real bullets.
Danger's my middle name.
Mine's Cornelius. If you tell anybody, I kill you.
Welcome to Random Movie Reviews. I'm Nathan, and today I'll be talking about The Last Boy Scout. So why am I talking about The Last Boy Scout today? Well, the last video I did was on Armageddon, a film starring Bruce Willis. And then the film I talked about before that was Bad Boys 2 and Bad Boys for Life. Well-known buddy action comedy films that I'm not really a big fan of. But for anyone wanting to hear my reasons why, I'll put links to both videos in the description below. So I figured a great way to kind of tie those two reviews together is to talk about a movie that's also starring Bruce Willis. One that I actually think is quite underrated and legitimately well made and is a lot of fun to watch, and is also a buddy action comedy film. Written by the guy who perfected buddy action comedy films, a Mr. Shane Black, who's most well known for writing Lethal Weapon, but he also wrote other cult classics such as The Long Kiss Goodnight, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, The Nice Guys. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and The Long Kiss Goodnight are two movies that I've already talked about in this channel. I'll put those in the descriptions as well for anyone interested to see. The Nice Guys is a film I haven't talked about yet, but it is hands down my favorite thing that Shane Black has ever done, and I'm looking forward to doing a review on that one in the future. That's why I wanted to talk about The Last Boy Scout today. This is one of those movies where, for the people who know it, are a pretty big fan of it. This movie has kind of developed quite the cult following over the years. It was a movie that got fairly lukewarm, mixed reviews when it came out, but it is a crowd pleaser. And it's a buddy action movie that may not do a whole lot with the formula. You know, it is very standard in terms of how the characters interact with one another, but it's a film that is able to overcome its cliches and predictabilities due to Shane Black's very witty way of writing that's very memorable, that's very entertaining, and of course Tony Scott's really visually appealing style of directing that is sleek, that is captivating, that is also very energetic when there's moments of action and suspense. And it's just one of those movies where it's just plain fun. And it's also very underrated. I mean, there are a lot of people I know that I've talked to that have never heard of this movie, that are action movie fans, and that's why I wanted to talk about it, because for those who haven't seen this movie, you absolutely should, because it's an absolute blast, especially if you're a Bruce Willis fan. But before I get into specifics, let's do a brief plot synopsis of the film. The movie centers around Joe Hallenbeck, played by Bruce Willis, who is a private investigator but former Secret Service agent who at one point saved the president's life during an assassination attempt, but ended up losing his job after witnessing a senator abusing a woman, and became disgraced as a result of that, lost his career, went down a path of alcohol and self-loathing, and became a seedy private investigator. He gets hired by a woman named Corey, played by Halle Berry, a dancer who is dating Jimmy Dix, played by Damian Wayans, a former superstar quarterback that ended up getting fired due to allegations of drug use and illegal gambling. But after Corey ends up getting killed by some hitmen, both Joe and Jimmy end up working together and going down this rabbit hole that revolves both of their past careers and them having to work together in order to get out of it alive and possibly save their reputations. They end up discovering that Jimmy's former employer and owner of the football team he was quarterback of, Shelley Marcone, is involved in a conspiracy to buy off senators in order to legalize sports gambling, one of those senators being Calvin Baynard, the one that Joe ended up attacking, leading him to get fired from the Secret Service. We also have Joe's daughter Darian, played by Danielle Harris, who ends up getting entangled in the adventure along the way. As far as the plot is concerned and the way it operates, it's a fairly standard, kind of hard-boiled, detective-inspired story, which is kind of Shane Black's thing if you've seen his other works. He's very inspired by classic film noir, stories that involved morally flawed characters and characters who are kind of, the polar opposite of each other, but them eventually becoming friends, learning to trust each other, and get out of this crazy situation that ends up, resulting in numerous action scenes and explosions. I mean, the action in this movie is really, really fun and memorable. And that's Tony Scott has always been a great filmmaker in that regard, just making really big, epic, memorable action set pieces that are just flat out entertaining. The whole ending at the football stadium is memorable, and before that there's a really awesome epic car chase, there's shootouts. Hell, the opening of this movie is pretty memorable, where we get like a wannabe Monday Night Football song, and we get these two teams playing each other in the rain, and you're like, okay, where's this movie going exactly? And then out of nowhere, one of the players takes out a gun in the middle of the game and is shooting other players and then ends up killing himself, and it's like, dude, what the hell? I remember I ended up watching this. I discovered this movie by seeing it on TV and being really into it, and then years later trying to remember what the movie was. And then one day at a gas station came across this, a double feature Blu-ray with two Bruce Willis movies, one of them being The Last Man Standing, a film that I still haven't seen, and I've owned this thing for years, and The Last Boy Scout. And I was like, hey, I remember that movie, and I got really excited and I bought it. And unfortunately, The Last Boy Scout is one of those movies that's kind of difficult to find a physical copy of. If you have a region-free Blu-ray player, you can get the European Blu-ray of this, but yeah, for whatever reason, this movie is not the most common to find on physical media, which is kind of a pain in the ass. But anyway, so yeah, the movie opens up with a crazy scene that gets your attention, and then the movie does a great job spending kind of an equal amount of time with both Bruce Willis's character and Damon Wayans' character. We learn that they're both directly related in the sense that they were highly regarded in their fields and they were respected, and then they ended up, for personal reasons or another, ended up getting fired and kind of losing everything. And so that's one of the aspects that's a little bit different in comparison to some other buddy action movies, where the common formula is these two guys are completely different. You know, like Lethal Weapon, Murtaugh, played by Danny Glover, is the family man. He's the older veteran cop who's looking to retire soon. He's very by the book. He's very traditional. And then he's teamed up with Martin Riggs, Mel Gibson, who lost his wife and is suicidal and is completely unhinged and insane and doing crazy, risky stuff because he just doesn't really care and is very reckless. Two completely different type of characters working together. Well, in this one, there's a little bit of a twist in the sense that our characters are very similar, but they still, you know, are ending up butting heads because the situation they find themselves in is pretty crazy. And the chemistry between both Bruce Willis and Damon Wayans is legitimately very, very good. It's interesting to see Damon Wayans in this movie. I mostly know him for very comedic stuff, like Major Payne, for example.
You'll get no sympathy from me! You want sympathy? Look at the dictionary between shit and syphilis!
And in this movie, there are moments where he's being humorous and quite silly. There's a lot of funny moments in this movie. But there's also moments where he's being very dramatic and grounded. And you see a side of his acting that, well, at least that I certainly haven't seen before, and he does a really, really good job of it. And because this movie is written by Shane Black, there are so many just great, you know, one-liners and comedic quotes throughout the film. Too many to count, but here's some of my favorites.
It just happened, Joe. It was an accident, right? You tripped, slipped on the floor, and accidentally stuck your dick in my wife.
Got my saddle.
Hi. You're nobody. Don't tell anyone.
Oh, you real cool for a guy about to take a bullet.
After fucking your wife, I'll take two.
You probably know how to circumvent, huh?
Circumvent?
It's called the vocabulary. You read much?
A subscription to Jugs magazine just ran out.
You don't believe in love.
Yeah, I believe in love. I believe in cancer.
What, they're both diseases?
Yeah, something like that.
I want to meet the bitch that fucked you up.
Bit late for a stroll, don't you think?
Yeah, you girls ought to be getting home.
Yeah, street lights are on.
Shut up, fuckface.
I'm fuckface, he's asshole.
Maybe I could take your daughter out. What's she like?
She's like 13 years old, and if you even look at her funny, I'm gonna stick an umbrella up your ass and open it.
Well, just once, I would like to hear you scream.
Play some rap music.
The movie is very well balanced in terms of being comedic and being serious when it needs to be. And it doesn't go too far in either direction. It's interesting to watch this movie in comparison to some of Shane Black's later movies, because when you look at films like, take Kiss Kiss Bang Bang or The Nice Guys, for example, those movies would end up being more comedic, which is not a bad thing by any means, but this was still at the time where he still wanted like some serious gritty action. There's some gritty moments in this movie that are kind of surprising. For example, like when Bruce Willis straight up kills a guy by putting his nose in his brain.
If you touch me again, I'll kill you.
Bomba! Baby!
Told you.
He told him if you touched him again, he was going to kill you. And look what happened. If you're a fan of the buddy action genre and you have not seen this movie, then you're missing out, because this is truly one of the best ones, just in terms of the film getting everything that you would want from this type of movie. You know, you get two great characters who have great chemistry, two great performances. You know, Bruce Willis is charismatic as hell, same as Damon Wayans. Perfect balance between comedy, action, and mystery, noir, thriller. This is one of those movies where it knows what it is. It gives you all the genre conventions that you would want that are satisfying while also not being too predictable or too obvious. The direction is stellar by Mr. Tony Scott. It's just flat out fun. So anyway, guys, that's my thoughts on The Last Boy Scout. As you can tell, I'm a big fan of this movie, but I want to hear from you guys. If you've seen the movie, do you like it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Mention it in the comments below. And also mention to both me and other people who may be watching some other underrated buddy action movies that you feel like have gone under the radar. And as always, thank you guys for watching.